You wake up tomorrow, and everything looks exactly the same. The sun rises. Cars fill the streets. People rush to work. Nothing feels unusual until someone smiles. It lasts half a second too long. You ignore it. Then another person does the same thing. Exactly the same smile. Exactly the same timing. You tell yourself it's just a coincidence. But deep inside, something feels wrong. By lunchtime, you notice another pattern. Nobody makes mistakes. Nobody drops a phone. Nobody forgets a word. Nobody argues. The city feels perfect. Too perfect. Then you ask someone a simple question. What did you dream about last night? They pause. Just for a moment. Then they answer. I don't dream. The next person says the same thing. So does the next. Every answer is identical. That is when a terrifying idea enters your mind. What if everyone else has already been replaced? And what if you are the last real human? It sounds like science fiction. But history is full of moments where one kind of human quietly disappeared. Around 40,000 years ago, another human species vanished forever. The Neanderthals. For hundreds of thousands of years, they walked beside us. They hunted. They made tools. They buried their dead. Some researchers even believe they created art. Then they were gone. Not because the earth exploded. Not because of one giant disaster. They simply disappeared. Meanwhile, Homo sapiens kept spreading. Today, almost every person alive carries a tiny piece of Neanderthal DNA. According to geneticist Svana Pabo, our ancestors didn't just compete with Neanderthals. They also had children together. Their story still lives inside us. But their civilization does not. Imagine being the last Neanderthal alive. Every familiar face slowly disappears. Every child born belongs to another species. Would you even realize your world was ending? Or would it happen so slowly that you never noticed? Maybe extinction doesn't always arrive with fire. Maybe sometimes it arrives. Replacement does not always mean destruction. Sometimes it means becoming unnecessary. Think about the people you pass every day. How many conversations happen without real attention? How many smiles are automatic? How many replies are copied from habit? Psychologists call this automaticity. Large parts of daily life run without conscious thought. Researchers like Daniel Kahneman describe this as fast thinking. Your brain creates shortcuts. It saves energy. Most of the time, those shortcuts keep you alive. But they also make people surprisingly predictable. Now imagine something watching humanity for years. It studies every habit, every gesture, every pause, every laugh, every fear. Eventually, it becomes almost impossible to tell the difference. Would you notice? Or would your own expectations fool you? This question isn't completely fictional. Computer scientist Alan Turing asked something similar in 1950. He proposed a simple test. If you cannot reliably tell whether you are talking to a machine or a person, does the difference still matter? For decades, that idea sounded impossible. Machines could calculate. Machines could follow instructions. But they could not truly imitate people. At least, that was the assumption. Then something changed. Artificial intelligence stopped memorizing answers. It started learning patterns. Millions of books, billions of conversations, countless images, tiny fragments of human behavior. Not because machines became human, but because they became extremely good at predicting humans. Prediction can look almost identical to understanding. That similarity is becoming harder to ignore. Look around a crowded train station. Hundreds of people move together. Most never speak. Yet everyone somehow knows where to walk. Tiny adjustments happen every second. Without planning. Without discussion. It looks chaotic. But hidden patterns guide the crowd. Humans are full of invisible rules. And invisible rules can be copied. Here's the unsettling question. If every action can be predicted, what exactly makes you unique? For centuries, people believed the answer was simple. Humans have emotions. Machines do not. But emotions are stranger than they seem. Fear is chemistry. Love changes brain activity. Memories rewrite themselves every time you remember them. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio argues that emotions are not the opposite of logic. They are part of the system that makes decisions possible. Without emotion, even simple choices become difficult. Your brain is not a perfectly rational machine. It is a storyteller. Every second, it builds a version of reality. Not reality itself, just the version that helps you survive. That means you already experience the world through a filter. Colors are electrical signals. Sounds are vibrating air. Faces become meaning only after your brain assembles millions of tiny details. In other words, the world you experience exists inside your mind. Now imagine someone standing beside you. They laugh when you laugh. They remember your birthday. They comfort you when you are afraid. They dream of the future. Or at least, they say they do. How could you prove they are conscious? You cannot enter another person's mind. You never could. Philosophers call this the problem of other minds. Every relationship you've ever had depends on trust, not proof. Perhaps being human was never about having the strongest body or the smartest brain. Perhaps it was always about sharing a fragile consciousness with billions of others. And if that is true, the last real human would not be alone because nobody existed. They would be alone because they could never know who was still real.